Hey, I'm Linus. You saw the title. Let's get into it. I'm going to break down how I made this spec ad for FILA. Alright, let's start with pre-production. This project came about because I wanted another video for my portfolio. Surprise, surprise. And my goal in this ad was to connect footwear with dance. More on that later. I start every project with a pitch deck. Now, usually you use a pitch deck to try to sell other people on your idea, but even if I'm shooting something solo, it's a really important tool that helps me get organized. I'll start my pitch deck with a log line. That's a single sentence that describes what the viewer is going to see in the video. And in this project, the log line was, in a 60-second ad, a dancer gets a breath of fresh air thanks to her FILAs. Writing a good log line really sets you up for success. It doesn't have to be super specific, but it should capture the central idea and theme of your video. I never skip this step because I find that if I can't summarize my video in one sentence that makes sense to me, there's no way that I'm going to be able to make an actual video that people want to watch. The next part of my pitch deck is always the key themes. These get to the heart of what's the point? What are the core ideas that are going to hold the video together? So I'll just start off with some broad strokes. For this piece, it was dance, shoes, hair, etc., etc. And from there, you can kind of refine your ideas. And then finally, the last part of the pitch deck that I want to highlight is the mood board. This is so helpful when you're planning out shots. Like I've mentioned before on this channel, I like to pull from a really wide range of sources when finding inspiration. And there's some great free websites online that can help you do just that. For this project, I used Shot Cafe because you have unlimited downloads. Their library is not as big as some other services, but you can make it work. So once I had all those core parts of my pitch deck finished, it was time to move on to my shot list. I've talked about this before, but for me it really helps to plan everything out. I don't want any surprises. And so like always, I did that in this piece. And from there, I was ready to shoot. So we had two locations for this video. The first one was the apartment building that we live in. And the second one was the Dance AS Dance Academy in Dumfries, Virginia. Big shout out to them. Thank you so much for letting us use your space. That dance studio is this huge open space, which I'm sure is perfect for big dance classes. But for my purposes, that presented a challenge. See, I wanted this dance scene in the beginning to feel like it was in a really small, cramped room. What I was going for was a feeling of claustrophobia. So luckily, I scouted the location ahead of time and decided that I was going to shoot just in one narrow corner of the big dance studio. The biggest production challenge in this piece, though, was working with my actress. This is Jakaya, my girlfriend, and she's not a difficult person. However, she's not an actress. So how did I approach directing her? Well, a couple of things. First of all, when I was coming up with the idea for this video, Jakaya was the inspiration for this dancer character. That meant she wasn't going to have to do any crazy costume changes, any makeup, anything like that. She could just more or less be herself. What also helped with that is that Jakaya is, in real life, a dancer. She's classically trained in ballet, she later started doing hip-hop, she loves to dance. That meant that she didn't really have to act. She just had to get used to having a camera in her face. So I took the same approach in this video that I did in that Casio video, where I cast my buddy Travis as a photographer. He's a photographer in real life, Jakaya is a dancer in real life, and so playing a photographer and a dancer respectively on screen is easy. So if you're working with non-actors, try to create characters that aren't going to be a big stretch. If you want to get believable performances out of non-actors, you have to know how to direct them. That's where this next tip comes into play. Telling someone, even a trained actor, to look sad or look happy or look disappointed is terrible direction. Not just because there's such a wide range within each of those emotions, but also because you can't expect people to be able to just turn things on. So here's what I try to do instead. I give my actors the context of the scene. I explain to them what their character's motivation is in the scene, and I try to help them connect that to their real life. So for example, this rooftop scene. The mood I was going for was this release of tension and feeling inspired. This dancer is finally broken out of this claustrophobic dance room. And so when I was directing Jakaya in this scene, I told her, think about how you feel after a really long day. You get home, you finally get to let your hair down, take your shoes off, and you just take a nice deep breath. That's an experience that everybody's had. And I know for sure that she's had that experience. So by asking her to tap into how she feels in the real world, I can help her give a believable performance on screen. Saying look relieved or look calm, I don't think that would have done the trick. All right, now let's talk about post-production. In a lot of my previous work, especially in documentary, I've been able to rely on the spoken word to kind of fill in narrative gaps where needed. But for this piece, I just wanted to rely on visual storytelling. And so how did I use it? Well, first of all, through color. The first half of this piece is all in cool tones. I was trying to mimic fluorescent lights and just overall make the scene look very uninviting. Now, on the other hand, the second half of this video uses warmer tones. It's at sunset, so there's a beautiful pink sky, and the light on our actress is much softer. So the intention there was to make the outside look more comfortable than the inside. Not to mention that halfway through our video, our actress leaves the dance studio, ascends a flight of steps, and arrives at the top of a building. She literally has a new perspective, and that helps her feel better. It helps her find her style. Another part of visual storytelling is symbolism. So in this video, there's a repeated image of a record player, courtesy of my friend Lily. Thank you. I cross-cut shots of the record spinning with Jakaya spinning to emphasize the point of disorientation. Now, I mentioned in the beginning of this video that one of my main intentions was to connect footwear with dance. And the way I went about that was to assign a specific dance style to each piece of footwear. Obviously, the ballet slippers are ballet, but the FILAs are a more free-flowing type of dance style, closer to hip-hop. Now, nothing against ballet, but when I was planning this video with Jakaya, one thing that always came up was how uncomfortable ballet can be. Your hair is pulled back into this slick bun, you have to do these really precise movements, and your feet are squeezed into these really tight slippers. That was a jumping off point for me. I thought about how FILAs could represent an alternative to that. Dance styles like hip-hop allow for a lot more variation. You wear looser clothes, you can let your hair down, and you can be a little bit more free. I'm not a dancer, and this is just my interpretation, but that's kind of the central theme I was going for in this piece. And hopefully that was communicated through the visuals. Making this video was another great challenge. I'm really glad I have it in my portfolio, and go check it out if you haven't seen it already. I hope that this experience of using visual storytelling will make my videos with spoken word stronger. Big thank you again to Dance AS Dance Academy in Dumfries, Virginia, and of course to my beautiful girlfriend Jakaya for putting up with me throughout the creation of this video. I've got more projects like this one coming up, so stay tuned.